Hi, this is Jeff the Big Hairy Dog, and this is a webinar on sales orders in Prism. That's roughly our agenda there. We're going to look at how to make a sales order, how to take a deposit, how to refund one, how to fulfill the order, cancel it, and maybe some reports. All right, so in Prism, of course, sales orders are just part of transactions. They're not in a separate place as they are in previous versions. So if we go into a transaction, and we may skip over and go back and look at preferences real quick, but let's just get in here first and take a look, right? And so we've got sales, we've got orders. Now in this case, I've only activated the customer order, so there's no drop-down menu. I can make it a sale or I can make it an order, right? So if we turned on layaways, we'd see that option. Of course, special orders are very different, but let's just back up, and I think I'm going to take it out of order based on the agenda, and we're going to go look at the preferences, because I think you need to kind of understand preferences before you get in there and make sales orders. In node preferences, node selections, again, if you're playing with preferences, you want to be in the company above the store, then you want to go down and find your setting that you're playing with, in this case, orders. You see that customer orders is enabled. Layaways are currently not enabled. We're going to enable that. And then special orders are enabled. We have the option to put a minimum deposit on there and or require it, right? So, and you could also set whether it can be recorded anytime or only after you have the money. Normally only after you have the money. I mean, honestly, there are situations where you'd use allow always. I've used sales orders for like a cheap way of doing a charge account, basically, where you could come in and like a farm that picks up a truckload of hay would come in, and we would make an order and we would record it. We would have it set to always allow and record it. Then the farmer would stop back by later and just give them a check, and they'd put the deposit on and finish the order and close it, right? So that way they could the ranch could send over a ranch hand to pick the stuff up, and they wouldn't have to have the check with them. But for the most part, honestly, most of my clients, 90% are after final deposit. Like you can't take the product home until you've given us the money, right? That's the normal setting. And over here, you could say, if you require a deposit, or I should say, suggest a deposit or not, right? So you could set this to, like, here, let's just set this one up to say 50%, and that'll suggest a 50, but we don't have to necessarily require it, if you see what I mean. We could be set to not require. So then if you had a situation where maybe something was going on with an owner's son or something, and they were ordering some stuff, but we know this person, they're part of the family, and we're not going to take their money now, right? So that would be like that. And if it's we want to require all the time when we do that. Now, if you require, you can't not take the money, right? So we'll leave it like that for now. And this here probably we'd set to 100, but not require. And I'm going to hit save. Well, before I do that, real quick, suggest default number of days for due date. I would always recommend you putting one of those in, since we're here, right? 14 days is pretty normal for an order window, right? So let's save that. Let's get out of here, and let's go see if that works in the land of point of sale. So now if we go back to point of sale and we say order, it's going to ask us which kind, right? Because we've turned on the other method. So if we click on customer order, we are going to need, a phone number. So if we can find one, we're going to need a customer, right? So if we take and grab a customer, and we're going to need some items. So Minimum requirement is you have an item that's being ordered and a customer, obviously. Now, you can optionally switch back to sale mode and sell some stuff. If you do, this will become a sale first and an order second. What does that mean? It just means that you won't be able to modify the order downstream. So if all items are order items, then you can like swap an item out. You could add a different item after the fact. You could like void that item and then add another one on, right? So if it's a sale, then it's uninterruptible audit trail. It's carved in stone. It is what it is. You can't add any items to that after you've updated it. So depending on the usage, right, you may or may not want to add sale items and mix them, basically. So, all right, we have an order. So we're going to say tender. And it says, hey, do you want to take a deposit? Now, it's suggesting a 50, but I didn't require it, so I could just click OK and not take it. Or I could say minimum deposit, or I could say balance, right? And then I could say OK. So we'll just say that we're going to take the minimum deposit here. OK. And no, I don't want to use their 85 cents. So we're going to take a credit card. Doesn't really matter, right? We're just going to fake the credit card here. I don't have a credit card machine hooked up. So we're going to take that as our deposit and print update. And what do we got here? Come on. My VM is nice and slow today. Let's keep with the theme here, right? So preview and we got a nice exception. Good, excellent. So let's see if we can get a different design here. Transaction lookup. When we go to transaction lookup, that one's going to be right there on top. Now, let's see here. Yeah, all right. So within the date range, which is very narrow here, I've only made orders recently, so fair enough. I was wondering how I got so lucky that there are only the orders up there. And now here, my screen is too big and I have to scroll. Since I'm bumping into that, I'm going to point out that everybody should know how to zoom their screen, right, with the control key and the roller on the mouse, right? So you could zoom it back and be able to pop in there, and let's just see print. Let's just take a regular there's your receipt 40 column, your default from the developer. Really, we are unable to seem to print anything today. Of course, there's always in a webinar, there's always something that's messing with you. I try to check everything I can before I do this, right? And then I end up, with something going crazy on me. Well, all right, that's special. The receipt design actually does a great job of handling the order type. It'll show the order type and show the receipt, the transaction, and will then give you an order summary at the bottom, which I am not sure why we can't show that today. That's awkward, but all right. We have an order, and we took a deposit. If we wanted to here now, we could go to order details. We could say take another deposit, right? So I could go and say take a deposit, and I could say how much I want to take. I want to take $30 more dollars, and I could say okay that, and it'll generate a new receipt. Take my money. So now I could go into tender, and it should be $30. And no, we still don't want to use the store credit, but we will take cash this time. And we'll take a $50 bill, and we will say that's interesting. All right. And we'll give the change back and update only. All right. So now if we had to, could also give that deposit back, right? So Let's go to transaction lookup. Let's find the transaction. Here's the original transaction, right? So we're going to view that, go to order details, say take deposit. And I could say, look, I'm going to take a minus $30 deposit, right? So, okay, that. Well, hopefully you're going to okay that. Okay, it just took that long to get there. There it goes. So tender, of course, now it's set to give. So we're going to say give and an update only. So the best method to give back is just to put a negative value in the deposit amount and give the money back. We have had over the years people like trying like they take a deposit on the first of the month and then it's the 15th and they find out they can't fill it and they like void the deposit transaction, which completely screws up the tender reconciliation for the first and the 15th, right? You don't mess around with, you give back the money, you make a new transaction, you don't touch the old stuff, just go move forward. You know what I mean? Um, Okay, so I think we got taking deposits, refunding deposits. Okay, if we were going to fulfill that order, right, we would go um, back to find the order. So I'm going to go look at the order up. There's the order, right? And we say view that transaction. Then we go into our order details on the right there and fulfill the order, right? Now here, if I had multiple items, I could touch each item, and when I did, I could decide if I'm going to fill it or not. You know, fill that item only, and if I had multiple quantity, which I didn't think to put it on there, I could say I'm only going to fill one, but there's only one there to fill. In this case, I'm just going to click fill all two because there's only one item, and I just want to get back to the next transaction, right? So it then brings over the item. It should say bring the item over. Let's see, there we go. So here's the item, a new transaction is generated. And we're like, okay, let's go to tender. And it says, hey, there's a deposit for $70.02. Do we want to use that? We absolutely want to use that. So take that deposit. And then that leaves a balance, right, of 70.02. How are they paying that today? So we could say they're paying credit card, and so it's a Visa and take. And then we could print this receipt. It's probably not going to work either, which is, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty frustrating. I was just setting up and using these recently. I don't know why it's not being nicer to us. Okay, fair enough, right? So that's normal. So this feature was added in like I want to say 2.5 or 2.4 something. It's fairly recently been added, and it's really an excellent feature. So if you filled the complete order, now you can close it on the fly, which has made the whole closing of orders possible. Before it was very cumbersome to close orders. But yeah, the order has been completely filled. Would you like to close it? Yeah, yes, I would. I'd like to close it. Confirm and do I want to print? No, I don't really want to print the order, but okay, right? So that'll close the original order, and it'll actually update that receipt, and that would give them a receipt for the goods. And of course, it's going to show a split tender between the deposit we took 2 weeks ago and the money we took today, right? So that's pretty normal as well for a. All right, so let's go back now and see if we can do a transaction lookup search, and I think I saw down here an order that I made the other day, sort of kind of a large order. All right, let's go view that one. So we have an order here. Could I cancel that? Yes. So well, I mean, canceling and closing, the phrasing here in our agenda seems a bit odd because canceling and closing is really the same thing, right? So if we go to order details, let's pause on order details for a sec here. We did fulfill order, we did take deposit. Record sale would just assume everything was being invoiced. That's mostly a layaway function. I mean, it works in regular orders, but I mean, culturally, in a layaway, we take a deposit, we take a deposit, we take a deposit, we take the final deposit, we record the sale, right? That's how a layaway is processed in our culture, right? Whereas a special order, um, we get the goods in, we tell them, they come down, they pick them up, we reference the order, we kick the items over, and use whatever deposit they gave us to take the rest right then, take the final payment on the final receipt, right? There are dates here, we could edit those. Now, we should have, I guess we did in the wrong order, but yeah, it should have suggested a due date, right, of two weeks out or whatever, right? But it did not, or we didn't set it. I don't remember. So you can obviously edit the other dates here if we need to, right? We could set any dates we want here. They're a little awkward. So at the time of making the order, you'd have to go into order details and go to dates and set them. So that's why I like having a default due date. Then you got at least an order date and a due date out of the gate if we set the default correctly. Deposit history, you can see the deposit history here. And fulfill history, you can see what you've done here. Now, if we're going to give the money back, we would need to do that. We would need to give the money back first. So take a deposit, we would need to give all the money back, and there's no balance here. That's special. Yeah, it's just 21. It's right there on the screen, right? It's 21. Get our screen adjusted. All right, so cancel. Yeah, so it looks like it's 2174.99. So if we go to order details, well, let's just see deposit history, 2174.99, right? So we could say, now if we cancel this, it's going to issue the store credit, right? So if there was a fee for canceling, we would need to like invoice out a fee type or something, we could have a SKU that we add to it. Like right now, these are all, as you can see over here, these are all order type documents. None of these are sale items, right? So if I click edit, could I add an item to this? Yes, I could, by the way. I could totally add an item. So I could have a non-inventory item that I set up as a fee that I charge them, and I could invoice that out. And then I could give the rest back and close the order, right? Or I could use like a fee type on a receipt. I'd have to start an invoice against the order and take a fee. Few options there. That's not really terribly common, but it's possible. So I'm going to go back to order details here, and we're going to take a deposit, and it's going to go the other way. So let's cancel that, save. Let's go. Come on. Take deposit minus 2174.99. And okay. And see if I have the patience to wait for it this time. Yeah, there we go. Woohoo. So then we go to tender, and we would give that back however we were supposed to give that back. So credit card, say Visa, give, and update only for now. And come on. Then we would need to go to options here at the bottom and do another search real quick to find that original transaction, and this is how we had to do it before all the time, right? It was pretty painful to close orders. When you finished them, you had to go back to them, find them, and view them, and then go back in here and close the order, right? Which was really hard for finishing, like fulfilling an order, and you got another customer in line, you're going to move on, right? You're not going to go back and close that order. So that's roughly the whole process. I will say that if you're going to swap an order out, and if you only have one item on the order, add the new item and then void the old one. Don't do it in reverse. Once you void the last item on the order, it won't let you add any more. So I would say definitely add the new products first, then void the other ones. You can't remove them, but you can void them. And if you void them, they won't show, right? Everybody knows that there's a setting here in preferences. Let's go back in preferences for a second. And come on. Right, so right here, when you void it, the quantity goes to zero, and if that's turned off, as it should be turned off, if we void an item, the customer doesn't need to see it, right? It's never going to make it out the door. It's been voided off the receipt. It's still there. For security purposes, we need to know how many items you void. There, people could be playing games and voiding items that they shouldn't be, and trying to keep the money, right? So print zero quantity items should be turned off in your preferences. And then when you void the item on the receipt, which and maybe we should just go do that real quick, right? So if we go, let's go back and make a new order. Let's grab a customer. We'll pick on Frederico again, and we'll throw an item on there. Right, so we have an order. We go to tender. Let's say we know this guy really well. We're not going to mess with it. So these are loyalty points. I have a loyalty turned on. Wants to know if I want to use any of those points. So I'm going to say skip it, and then we're going to go. Nope, we still don't want to use that, and we are going to nope. So what did I do wrong? Why isn't it prompting me for a deposit? So I'm moving too fast, and I didn't set it to order mode, right? It's in sale mode. So now what if that happens in real life? Well, first off, you can click on item type and you can change anything to an order, right? Right there, you can just change it to an order. So why didn't that change and refresh? There we go. I guess I guess it probably changed but didn't refresh. And when I cycled around again, it did. But all right, so that's an order now, right? So now if we go back to tender, and we say no, we're not just going to skip that for now, and an update only. And okay, now they changed their mind. They want a different item. Okay, so we go find that order. So transaction lookup should be the first one on the top here, as it's made it. So there it is, right? And view transaction. So now I could click edit, and I could find another item that they want instead, which could be more or less than the other one, right? So what do we got here? Anything exciting? Nothing really. All right, we're gonna pick one. Let's say select item. All right, so the new item's on top. The new item's always go on top. So this bottom item here, the original one, I can now void that. So now you see that the type is set to void and the quantity is set to zero, right? So we're gonna say save, and I print this and show you that it doesn't print, except my printing doesn't seem to be working, because that's the one thing I did not check before the webinar started. I checked everything else, but not that, right? So now what if I wanted to charge them like a cancellation fee? So I could find the original order, which we found. I could well, no, I don't have a deposit, so I guess I would have to take a deposit, right? You can't really charge them something. They're not going to come down and pay you. But let's say we take a deposit, and we're taking the $32, and so we'll say okay on that. Okay, it starts a new transaction, and we say go take that money. All right, so now let's swing around to the, come on, you can do it. Options, transaction lookup, right? We find our order. So here we could say, because I don't think you're going to be able to do the fee. Like if I wanted to charge them a fee, I think I would want to charge them a fee. What I would probably do is I would say, uh, order details, fulfill order, and fulfill an item. You only need one. And then I would then go to transaction details and fee, and I would have a cancellation fee in here. So I'd say I'm charging you whatever I'm charging you, and I'd have in here I'd have cancellation fee. So we're just going to choose a reason and click OK, and then I would avoid the item. See if that does what we're trying to do. Order deposit available. Yeah. So we want to say yes. And now we only need $20. So we're going to take the $20 out of that 32, right? And then we're going to hit up print update or update only. I mean, in this situation, the customer's not here. They didn't pick it up. We're having to cancel this and we're charging them a cancel fee. So they're not here. So now if we go back to the order transaction lookup and we say search and we find this transaction view, and then we say order details and we say deposit history. We see we took 32.29 that we then like penalized them $20, right? And so there is a remainder of 12.29, right? So now we're going to say, okay, they're not coming back. We're going to close the order. And so deposit refund as store credit, yes, give, and okay. So that canceled the order and issued the store credit simultaneously back to the customer's record, right? So now they got that 85 cents plus the 12.29. Now they're styling. Yeah. All right. So I think we have done a pretty good job in kind of going over the basics of sales orders. We've missed one thing that we will have to cover real quick, and then we're going to move to some reporting here. And that is we have not done the special order. So the special order in Prism is very different. We've seen here that there is a customer order and a layaway, and they're actually completely identical as far as functionally. The only difference in the layaway is what we perceive, the way we treat it. It's us human beings that are different. In a layaway, we take a deposit, we take a deposit, we take a deposit, and then we deliver the goods. Where the customer order, we order some items, they come in, we tell the customer to come down and pick them up. So um, the difference between there is no technical difference, but the difference is on our side. Now, a special order, if we go down to the options menu and we see in here the special order option in the transaction options menu, and we click on special order, it's going to ask us, do we want to do an existing item or a new item? And that's really the special order thing is that you can actually click new item, and the cashier could define a new item here, right? They could put the vendor and they could put the name of the item, and they could go define this. So, which then opens the question: is that a good idea? I mean, in some businesses it is. Um, there are some very sharp salespeople out there that know what they're doing, that know how to follow the rules, and then there's lots of organizations I've seen where the salespeople are like part-time school kids that are just got a part-time job and they're not they're not worthy, right? So um, in that case, we wouldn't want to allow them to do special orders, right? So, because you're mucking up the inventory, you're making a mess in there. So, if we build an item here, it will let us save it, and it'll be saved into inventory and onto the order, and then it'll let us generate a purchase order, which I'm on the fence as whether that's a good idea because you end up with a PO with one item on it, right? And so somebody's got to follow up on that. So there might be better ways to handle that. but you can do it. You can generate a PO. Now, if you generate a new item or if you just select old items, every time you add an item, you have to go in here and add the item. So if I wanted to put 2 items on a special order, I'd have to go around the bend twice. Whether it be one I created or one that I'm selecting, there is no doc quantity column over here, right? So I'd have to go select the item each time to get it on there. Whether it's a new item and I'm typing it in or not, it's definitely a process of going out there and going down to the menu and popping in there and doing it. So um, I think special orders are usable for certain businesses, but I'm questioning whether they're good for all businesses. So if we go to tender here and it comes up and says, hey, we're suggesting that much, we didn't require it. So it may be that sometimes in a special order scenario, the cashier really doesn't know if buyer can get it. So we may say we're not going to take a deposit right now and skip it. And then if the buyer says, yeah, it's a go get the deposit, then we call the client up and say, hey, we need to take some deposit money, some good faith money so that the buyer will do it, right? Right. So update only. So generate purchase order, right, for a special order items. So we could say yes or no. If we say yes, it'll go out and generate purchase orders, right, for those items. Duplicate purchase order number created. Nice, excellent. One more error for the webinar, right? Um, so that's the difference between a special order and the other two types, right? Is that you have the ability to create new items, which is both exciting and very scary at the same time. So let's pop out to reports and take a look now. This is a report that I can't take credit for. Actually, this is where I was playing with before the webinar to make sure we were kind of ready. And this was actually created by Beth out in San Jose, and she's pretty sharp, I got to say. So, and her concept is that it's called sales order life cycle, right? Is what she's got going here, and I've been playing with this and I kind of like it. She's got the order, and it's really common that we would have the order number in here, and probably we would be grouping by the order number, right? Um, so that we could see them switch from one order to the next, right? And then we've got who's ordered it, and what the department is. She's got some stuff in here which we could change. Um, so we got the transaction stuff, and then we start item stuff over here. And then what she did, which was pretty cool, shows you the order and the filled on order, and then whether there's a PO on it. So if we look around here, I think we got some that show that they've got POs issued on them, right? And then we can see over here um, if it was vouchered in and or whether it was sold, right? So I thought this was a pretty cool report. I mean, I got to say. Anyway, some other reports that we have, like this report here, and I'm just going to run this at a fairly high level. I have some data, but it's really ancient data, so we're going to go back in time probably. Um, say that there. Okay, let's try that. Date's been added to the report, run, and we click the OK button, and it runs out there. And so this here, and we can collapse this down a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. This is meant to be at the transaction level, right? Just at the high level, what's the status of the orders, right? So we can see if they're due or if they're not due, right? So here's one that was filled and has 0 due. And maybe I should have closed that, but I never got around to it, right? So um, this is just the high bird's eye view of what's going on with the orders as we look at them, right? So, um, and then of course, I had another version of that, this one here. So we'll run this one here. Um, Oh yeah, you definitely want to get down a layer. If you're moving years, you want to be down a layer. Might take too long to do it the other way. This is basically the same exact report, except this one has items, right? So let's collapse the notes here, the comment field down, and you can see that this part here is the same all the way up through balance due, right? Then, but you see I tacked on the items over here, so you can see what's going on with the items. This is a good report too. I've used this a lot. It's a nice report. That other one is kind of new that Beth just did that and sent it to me, and I've been playing with it and kind of like it. It's a lot though, so but it's sort of cool. I'm gonna have to play with it some more. Um, Retail Pro has has let's see, what do we do here? Do that. What do we got? We got SO deposits. So there's a report here, and there's a lot of data out there. So I'm afraid to run this wide open. So we know we have some data back in this range. Oh, nice. Store, sales order number, bill to customer, order date, shipping date, cancel date, order price, deposit, balance due. I mean, similar to mine, I have a few other fields in mine that tell you the status and what type of order it is, but not a bad report. And I thought I saw some other ones in there too that the developer had put in there. Got excited for a second with those are the ones we just looked at. So sales order with item details report, layaway order report, sales order report. I don't know if I really feel that up to it, but I'll see. Uh, oh yeah, well, all right. So this we don't have any layaways in here, so that one actually ran fast, right? So this one's filtered clearly to only see the layaways. It looks like it's at the transaction value too. I don't see any item fields in the headings, right? So this would just be like an order status report, right? Like the other one. Anyway, I think you see that there's lots of options in reporting, and we've got some nice reports we could supply you with if you need that. So I think I'm going to say thank you very much for attending or watching. Um, Again, this is a sales order transaction in Prism, and then this is crunch reporting that we're looking at here. And so I'm going to say, hope you enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you later. Again, this is Jeff the Big Hairy Dog.